Today, we are talking about the art of the compliment, which for me is one of the most important things that we as individuals in any society, in any culture, should probably master, especially since as a part of our society, compliments are sort of our natural socio-cultural reward system that we give to each other in order to for lack of a better term, train people on how we can cope with them and relate to them in relationships and friendships, whether that's professional in our business workplace or, of course, personal, whether that's family, friendships, or romantic partnerships in any capacity. So what I've noticed as we wait for some other people to join us for today is that in the last, I'd say probably 10 or 15 years, I've noticed that we as a society, at least in America, have stopped complimenting people. And when we compliment people, there's almost this connection to sexuality or romanticism. So it's like we need to, like if we walk up to somebody, even if they're a complete stranger, if I'm male and she's female and I give her a compliment, there's almost like a sexual implication or an innuendo that's implied in that compliment giving. And for me, what I think is that we're missing a huge opportunity to use our ability to offer someone a compliment to redevelop and rekindle connections and intimacy in our lives. So much so that even huge names like Gary Vee talks about randomly going into your phone and making a phone call to someone that you haven't spoken to in a really long time and expressing gratitude to them for being a part of your life, even though you may not have spoken to them in quite a long time. So today on the art of the compliment, I'm going to cover some of the biggest mistakes that I see people make when it comes to complimenting people. And sort of hopefully educate you all on how you can start to add more of these types of compliments and these principles into your life in order to deepen your relationships, whether they're friendships or business partnerships. So let's jump into it right now. For those of you guys that are coming on, we are talking about the art of the compliment today. So we're going to cover some of the biggest mistakes. And then, of course, by the time we get to the end of that list of the pitfalls, I am going to cover what I consider to be the biggest single mistake people make when it comes to offering and giving compliments to individuals. So the first one for me that I always run into that I've been noticing as I'm sort of out watching people now is the mistake of making their compliment physical. And it's so easy for us to want to say to people, you have really pretty eyes, or that's an amazing shirt you're wearing today, or I really like your car. It just sort of aims at the physical components of what makes a person a person. Well, the problem with that being, well, it's not a bad compliment per se, but it definitely isn't the depth of compliment that you could create an even deeper rapport with someone around. Because a lot of the stuff that we physically have as a part of our space is sort of given to us by genetics. Now, of course, there are things that we can do to improve our image. There are things that we can do to highlight different features of ours, whether that's our eyes or our physique or our minds. But I noticed that the more times I see people give compliments around something that's physical about a person, I notice that the person almost doesn't receive it or doesn't hear it. And it's almost like, yeah, well, my eyes are my eyes. It's not like I get to pick and choose them. So that I want to make sure everybody just avoids. Okay? And so for me, the principle of the art of the compliment that you can make a quick change around this is to look for a quality, a characteristic, or a trait of the individual that you would like to compliment. So you avoid the physical and move more into something that would be considered emotional or mental or spiritual. And so say things like, I really appreciate that there's a natural artist in you. So being able to express something like that gives the other person an opportunity to see something in themselves that they may have not connected with before. So it's great to see you, Tobias, Sam, Chris. Thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you guys get a lot out of today's Facebook Live event. So the reason for me choosing to select a characteristic, a trait, or a quality in an individual to compliment them on is because it's not so easy to look for or to see. What this does is when you say this to someone, it communicates the amount of thought, the sacrifice of your time and your energy, and your own unique perspective to look at them in a new way and to offer them an insight, to acknowledge something within them. Well, me and my business partners, Joe and Marcus at Your Charisma Coach, we always want to do the best that we can to teach people and show people what we are calling connection triggers, which are the certain qualities and aspects of natural human connection that allow us to join with somebody and bond with them and connect with them in a way that they get more out of it than what you've given. So it's almost like 1 + 1 = 3. So the first mistake that people make is they choose something physical to focus on. Okay. The second thing is they make the compliment. This is a huge mistake that people make all the time, is they make the compliment really simple or really plain. Or so like nice shirt. Those are cool shoes. Love your hat. They're very simple, very plain, very easy, very short, very small thoughts. And while I prefer that you all at least give a compliment like that as opposed to no compliment whatsoever, it's also really important that you go a little deeper than just what's easy to see so that you can really pull out of someone something they may not even recognize is there. And that requires a little bit more complexity. So the thing I like to tell my students, and I know that Marcus does too when we are teaching people these connection triggers, is to get specific and use an example. So it's not, I really like your taste in shirts. You say to them, you know what I love is that you pick the perfect color of shirt that really matches your eyes or really fits the context. And I noticed that because this one time when you and I went to this business meeting together, I noticed that I could have stepped my shirt game up a bit, but you came in looking like $1 million and we ended up knocking that business meeting out of the park thanks to the way you appeared to design the experience from the bottom up. And when you get specific like that and pick something about that thing you're wanting to compliment them on, and then you directly connect it to a memory or an experience, you're giving that person an opportunity to go back to a previous memory or a previous moment in their lives and feel an appreciation, a sense of appreciation and acknowledgement from that moment that they may not have even gathered when they were in that moment with you to start. So it's a really, really easy thing to start adding into your daily interactions and your daily relationships, is just to start to pay attention to very specific things about that individual that you can compliment them on, maybe not right in that moment, but maybe next week and the next time you talk to them or chat with them. And that really does pull together multiple moments of intimacy or multiple moments of connection into the now. And it's been my experience that the person who's receiving that compliment feels it in a much deeper way. So please feel free. It's great to see all of your faces here. It's great to see all your names popping up. I'm glad you guys are here to join me. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat window as we're going through this stuff, because I want to make sure that I answer your guys' questions about this so that you can start using it, this information immediately today. I have a lovely assistant that's sitting to my left-hand side right here. You can't see her, but she's right there. That's my Sarah. So if you guys go ahead and ask those questions, she's going to chime in and make sure that I get those answered for you guys. So just to cover the first two mistakes is most of the time people compliment people on something physical, which they're not really responsible for the most part. And then they make a compliment that's simple or plain or easy is the word I like to use. And we need to avoid those things altogether by getting specific and looking for a quality or a characteristic that it communicates about the individual. So Tobias asked the question, how do you use the art of compliments for making great business contacts? It's actually really simple and easy. This is a great question, Tobias. The first thing I do is I actually take time to observe someone. Now, please do not do this in a creepy or weird way. I can't, staring at somebody is a catastrophe. So if you're in a business environment or a networking event, or you're walk into a meeting for the first time, please take some time to actually just Start by observing people. When you're looking and observing a new potential business contact, you're listening to their conversations, you're listening to the ways they interact. You can then pick up on something that later on, maybe 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, you can say, hey, about 20 minutes ago when you were in that interaction, you were having that conversation, you were sharing with people about this. I really appreciated your perspective on how you spoke to them in regards to sort of the way you presented the information. It was much deeper than the way most people think. And I like that about it, the way you are. So when you share that, it gives that person an opportunity to go back and review even the moment 20 minutes earlier. So it doesn't have to be something that was done a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It can actually be literally 5 minutes earlier or an important moment earlier. So I hope that answers your question, Tobias. The first thing is to observe. Second thing is to look for that specificity, that quality or characteristic in them. And then in about 5 minutes, I'm going to share with you guys how to present the compliment in a way that people will choose to receive it. So those are the first two mistakes. Let me get to the third huge mistake people make when it comes to giving compliments. The third one is people are polite. They are fake. They do not feel an authentic, genuine desire to share a compliment with somebody in order to better connect with them. What they're doing is they're giving a social compliment, which is, let's say you're at a networking event and your boss is there. Well, you're not the only person in that networking event that wants to compliment the boss in order to potentially gain a level up when it comes to getting a job promotion or an opportunity to work on a project that your boss is kind of currently looking for the right people to work on that. So what you do is you walk up to your boss and you go, nice tie, buddy. And you give him the wink and the double points. Well, what you don't know is that for the last 20 minutes, every single person in that room that is vying for that project, that wants to get that job promotion, they have all done something similar. And as a result of it, your voice sounds fake, your presentation sounds fake, you're not making eye contact the same way, and you are not the first person that this boss has seen do that. So the unfortunate byproduct being you become just another member of the crowd. That's the last thing you want to do if you're looking to get a promotion. You want to make yourself memorable. So the third mistake people make is they are too polite about it and they're fake about the way they offer it, when it makes it sounds like contrived or forced. Okay? You don't want to give a compliment to anybody that isn't authentic, because then your vocal tonality, your tempo, your timing, your facial expressions, your body language are not in alignment with what you're presenting to them. And it's been my experience, something inside of them can sense that incongruence or that misalignment, and that's actually a huge turnoff. So believe it or not, you actually lost points with that person instead of gaining them. So please avoid being polite and fake. What's the easiest way to do that? The principle of giving a compliment is to be authentic and to be genuine. The way I do this is I wait. I get patient. I do not feel like I have to jump in and give the compliment in any specific time period. Okay? What I do is I wait until a moment presents itself where I feel myself have a genuine desire to share with that individual my thoughts about them and my connection to them. Now, I wish there was a technique that I could teach you about how to be genuine. That will have to come on a future Facebook Live event, because that's like a whole 2-day training or 3-day training I could offer you guys on how to develop authenticity within you so that your whole life is lived in alignment authentically. And Marcus and I will be doing events like that for your charisma coach coming soon. So that's something for you guys to look forward to in the future. So those are the three so far. Love, Antonio, thank you so much. You know what what I love about your line right there, Antonio, is that it's just ambiguous enough, just vague enough that it gives you that pre-framed gateway to then share whatever feels natural for you in that moment. So you are linking a physical compliment to a characteristic or attribute about them. If you were sitting here with me right now, I'd give you a high five. I'd give you 2 gold stars. Because you're actually taking what is a socially acceptable form of compliment and pairing it with one of these principles. So, Antonio, You're a man. You're the man. So moving on, the next huge mistake people make, and this one happens, I've actually noticed it happens much more when it comes to dating and romance, and the desire to accelerate one's job opportunities most. So this doesn't happen that much with friends or with family, but a heck of a lot more when you're trying to get a date with someone. Okay, and that is, you give a compliment to someone that they are already desensitized to. Yeah, I see guys do this with women all the time. Yeah, they walk up and they give a compliment on some aspect or quality of them that everybody can blatantly and easily notice. So what happens is they've been desensitized by being complimented on that thing for so long that as a result of it, you giving it just sticks that same compliment on a large tower of compliments of the same thing that they don't even pay attention to anymore. And it's unfortunate because I think that we as people could stand to really benefit from allowing the depth of even a repetitious compliment to hit our hearts and touch who we are and allow us to see the beauty of what's been given to us, whether that's by life or that we've created within ourselves. So desensitization is the fourth mistake. So when you look at somebody, if you know that the most easy thing for you to compliment them on is likely something they've been complimented on before, do not under any set of circumstances share that. Avoid it. Like the Black Plague, okay? Seek something deeper. Okay? Well, the charisma principle that adds onto in the art of compliment on the other side of this is to look for something in them that's uncommon, that no one normally would notice. Okay, so what I do is what this does is it demonstrates a thoughtfulness or a purposefulness in the way you view that individual, in your point of view on them or your perspective on them. Okay, so look for something that would be that the average person walking by can't just observe within 30 seconds. They actually have to get to know the person in order to understand that. So that's sort of one of the principles, the fourth principle. Okay. Hi, Alona. Hi, Luke. It's great to see you guys. Antonio's got a question. He said, how could I use rainbow ruses or other cold reading statements when delivering a compliment? Really great. This is a really, really great question. I'm going to do the best I can to try and answer this like really fast. When it comes to cold reading, for those of you guys that are watching right now that don't know what cold reading is sort of the set of techniques or principles that psychics use in order to convince an individual that a statement they're making about them is something they're reading in them that applies to them. So, for example, a Barnum statement is something that came originally from P.T. Barnum, which is if you guys haven't seen The Greatest Showman now, please see that movie. It's an amazing movie, but came from sort of a circus background. A Barnum statement might be, you look like the kind of person that really loves to take a compliment, but only when it's from someone that matters. Well, isn't that everyone? Like we'll take a compliment from most people, but we generally or genuinely want a compliment from somebody that gives us that matters to us, that has a relationship with us in our lives. So that's called a Barnum statement. The way you use that, Antonio, is exactly what I just said. So you can look at them and instead of saying, you look like someone, you say, do you know what I love about your energy or the way that you carry yourself? You're the kind of person that's willing to receive a beautiful thought about them, but it's really more important that it be special and that it be something and from someone that matters ultimately more. Okay, so this is the way you take a compliment and a Barnum statement or a cold read and you sort of link them together. Okay, this is really great for sales, especially if you're doing cold calling or cold sales. When somebody walks by you or something like that, these kinds of Barnum statements along with compliments are a really great way to start a conversation. So hopefully, Antonio, I got a chance to answer that question. Please feel free to ask more. I love your questions. Okay, we've only got two more mistakes people make. The big one is the final one. Okay, so here's the next one, and this one is going to go a little deeper than the previous ones I've given you. The fifth mistake we make as people when we offer a compliment is we do not pay attention to the moment when we offer it. We create no segue or transition statement within the interaction. So it's like suddenly we're talking about, let's say, chariots, Roman chariots, and we're talking about the Colosseum. And then right in the middle of that, we just jump in and go, I really like your eyes. And everybody in the conversation just sort of looks at each other like really strangely, like, where the heck did that come from? And it's because you didn't use what we talk about in our charisma coaching program, which are natural segues or frames that you can offer even in the middle of having a conversation about something completely different, in order to naturally segue into the offering of that compliment. So some of these segues might be something like, you know what I really enjoy about you, even when you're talking about the Roman Colosseums? Now I'm asking a question. Okay, this question is a natural segue because the person gets to look at you and go, what do you enjoy about me? Now the doorway has been naturally created in a conversational flow that will invite the compliment. Here's a hint and a bonus. If you can do that segue in front of 5 or 6 of their close friends, that gains you bonus points with them, because you're not allowing your societal judgment or your risk aversion to keep you from offering something that you think is beautiful. So you're basically saying to the person, I'm willing to share with you something that may be vulnerable for me in this group setting because I care about you and I want you to know that. That gets you like double bonus points. So that's another segue. Another thing you can say is, another thing I use is, the interesting thing about that is, which is a natural segue. Okay. You can also just outright call the elephant in the room, and you can say, this conversation about the Roman Colosseum is boring. I'd rather tell you that I actually enjoy you as a person and what you're sharing with us. I could care less if we're talking about the Roman Colosseum or not. The way you are passionate about the topic is making me interested in it, which then gives you the double bonus points on top of the fact that it's specific, on top of the fact that you're addressing a quality about them, how passionate they are. You're also being genuine and authentic, and it's something that most people wouldn't normally share. So it's an uncommon sharing. It's an uncommon compliment. So that's sort of a natural way. What I like to do is make sure that I wait for a moment where I can lead it in using one of these segues. For those of you guys that have any other segues that you find yourself using in conversations in order to sort of change a topic of conversation and invite a new moment like a compliment, please feel free to share those in the chat window so that everybody watching it right now gets an opportunity to learn from your experience and wisdom. So are you guys ready for the final one? We got 7 minutes left, and here is the biggest mistake that almost everybody makes when it comes to offering a compliment to people. Okay? And the biggest mistake is people's fear of being judged for their offering, for sharing the compliment. People get scared. A lot of people I've noticed, especially our clients at Your Charisma Coach, a lot of our clients will say, I'm just waiting for the right time. I'm waiting for the right moment. I'm waiting to have them alone so that I can share it with them. Well, one of the principles that we share at YCC is that there's never a right time to offer something like this to someone. There's never a right time to walk up and start a conversation with a stranger. There's never a right time for almost anything that happens to us in our lives, but there is such thing as too late. So while you're sitting there in this beautiful interaction and connecting with these people, you're waiting for the right time and waiting for the right time and waiting for the right time, and then somebody interrupts the conversation, and now the whole group disbands. Some people go to sit down at a table, some people go to get a coffee, some people go to the bathroom, and now you have lost your opportunity. Well, if you go back behind that, what causes us as people to want to wait for the right time, to wait for the right moment? And that is our fear. We outright get scared of saying the wrong thing at the wrong moment and being rejected or dejected or demoralized or, just outright ignored by people. And that fear of judgment keeps us from being authentic when we share the compliment the compliment that we want to offer. So that fear is actually standing in the way of our ability to connect with people, whether that's a business partnership or a family member or a new friend or. So how do we battle that fear of judgment? The answer is, you're not going to like it, but the answer is be bold, take a risk, and get edgy. Be willing to share the compliment anyway, even if people give you the weird looks of like disgust or what's this guy talking about, or they're like, come on, man, that's my girlfriend, or whatever. Okay, whatever fear of rejection you have or judgment you have, you actually have to challenge that fear immediately as best as you can by being willing to be bold, take a risk, get edgy, and share the compliment nonetheless. Now, you may get rejected. The people may not immediately accept the compliment. It may not be easily received. However, what you are doing is building experiences of courage so that when you do over time, continue to be bold, continue to take the risk, continue to get edgy, and be willing to do things normal people would never dream of doing, then you become instantly more memorable than 95 to 98% of the conversations most people get into in their day-to-day lives. So it's not something that you're going to easily just pick up by doing it once and you're suddenly a master of the art of compliment. It's going to take iteration. You're going to have to do it over and over and over again until you get good at it. But once you do get good at it, the meaning that you put behind the compliments you offer will have depth. They will actually mean something to those people. And as a result, will actually deepen your bond together. Okay, so once again, the single biggest mistake is this fear of being judged. And the way you do that, the way you overcome it, is by directly challenging it, by being willing to build the virtue of courage and bravery in you. People, believe it or not, will appreciate it. And as a result, you will find your friendships, your social circles, your business networks, your connections to your bosses or teachers will instantly improve. Because if you know anything about some of the laws of influence, the law of reciprocity says that if you offer a compliment like that to them, then something within them will start to look at you in a complimentary way. This is what brings harmony and balance to our societies and our cultures. So that is the biggest mistakes, the 6 biggest mistakes and the 6 principles, so we can cover them really quickly. The biggest mistakes: look for something physical. It's too easy. Simple and plain compliments are often just missed completely. Third, being polite or fake actually causes you to lose points with the individual that you are attempting to compliment because you are not authentic with it. The fourth is giving someone a compliment that they've heard a million times before, completely desensitized. The fifth is when you just randomly add the compliment in some weird part of the conversation, so it seems like it comes from left field. Okay, so find a natural segue. And the sixth one is actually deeper, and that is our fear of being judged. So that keeps us from even offering a compliment in the first place. So the way we battle these big mistakes, let's go through them again. Pick a quality, a characteristic, a trait, something that you appreciate about the person's personality, and then you share that with them. The second one is be specific. Use an actual example from the times you have spent together. You can even do this 10 or 15 minutes after you've spent time together. The third is be genuine and authentic. Be in alignment with what you share when you share it, so that your emotions and your intellect is all together at the same place. The fourth is pick something uncommon that most people will not naturally notice or observe. So it takes a little bit more thought. Okay. The fifth is to pre-frame or add a lead-in or a segue, a natural transition. Okay. We gave you guys some examples of those. And then the final one is be bold, be risky, be edgy. One of my favorite quotes about that is risk small, but risk often. And this came from a very successful business coach who said that if you want to be successful in business and successful in life, you are going to have to take risks. So risk small, but risk often. As a final thought for any of you guys that are interested, Your Charisma Coach, we are coming out with our new product in the next couple of weeks. If you guys are interested in hopping on the webinar, we also have a brand new online community that we are creating for all of you guys that are interested in enhancing your soft skills in life, your interpersonal connections, and your relationships. It's not about what you know. It's about who you know and how you know them. So until the next time, I hope you guys have a phenomenal Sunday. This is Johnny on behalf of the YCC team. Thank you for making us your charisma coach. See you guys next time. Peace.